Hi, everyone. Welcome to a fireside chat on how AI, and in particular, AI agents, are transforming service, both for service providers like technicians and customer service teams, and the customers and employees needing support. With me today is Yacov Salomon, Executive Vice President of Engineering at Salesforce. Yacov, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. As Tal mentioned, I'm Yacov Salomon. I'm EVP Engineering here, leading the technology organization at Service Cloud at Salesforce. Service Cloud, as many of you know, is the biggest cloud by revenue at Salesforce right now. But most importantly, I think for the conversation today, it's at the tip of the spear when it comes to generative AI, the service industry in general. I often say I think of the service industry to Gen AI what marketing and advertising was for the internet. It's kind of the poster child for all the use cases we're doing. So very excited to be here today and very excited to talk about all the new generative AI technologies coming around the corner.
Great to have you here. I'm Tal, Chief Product Officer at Atera. So let's start. So Yacov, can you share a little bit about the evolution journey in Salesforce of AI from Einstein to autonomous agentic platform today that you have today?
Of course. So first of all, I must admit that I've seen the evolution at some steps, but I haven't been here throughout the entire evolution of predictive AI at Salesforce. In fact, I think Einstein as a term for all things AI at Salesforce started, I want to say somewhere around 15, maybe 14 years ago. Salesforce has done many acquisitions in the space. I was lucky enough to be part of one of those acquisitions back in 2016, and I played a role at building what we called at the time Marketing Cloud Einstein, which is the set of AI capabilities within Marketing Cloud. That's circa 2016, 17, 18. I've done a bunch of startups in between and taught at Berkeley, machine learning, but I've rejoined again towards the end of 2023, now at the Service Cloud. So that's my view of how evolution happened here. I think in general, the truth is that Mark Benioff has seen very early on the power of AI in the enterprise for the software kind of space, and predictive was a very powerful, together with analytics, part of the evolution of the platform. But of course, nothing has evolved as fast as generative. I think the generative journey here started in earnest, I think, about 2 years ago, as it did in the rest of the industry. I think the first iterations of it were very much in the quote-unquote co-pilot kind of notion, where the idea is that this is an assistive or a conversational-based assistive kind of mode for the users of the platform. I think Microsoft kind of championed that in the first case. And then from there, we very quickly pivoted. It was quite amazing to see, actually, a big company like Salesforce being able to pivot so quickly. But we've done the pivot halfway through last year into this term called Agentforce, which is going all in on autonomous generative AI. That's the evolution. I think it married the evolution in both the technical and the academic and the industry of quickly understanding that beyond the generative aspect of generative AI, i.e. the ability to create conversation, text, images, etc. The other thing that these LLMs, let's say technologies, can do when stringed together in the right way is to produce this notion of reasoning, and then from there over to agentic as the kind of the first example.
I think the journey for us here at Atera, well, for me personally, was it started maybe 25 years ago when I started working on face recognition algorithms back in the days, very, very early convolutional networks. But I left it for a while, and then when I joined Atera, we tried to employ some supervised learning in order to create an AI for Atera that that does what autopilot is doing today, and that failed, unsurprisingly. And we kind of ditched it. But when the current LLMs that we see today came out, it kind of brought in a new spirit, and we kind of joined early betas of Microsoft, OpenAI, and I would say that we haven't looked back since joining the wave of Agentic AI as well. So that was an amazing journey, and we saw the progression. We still see the progression to this very day from being an AI that creates text or images, generative AI, to an AI that actually does things in the real world, in the physical world. I think that's what we see. Let's talk a little bit about Agentforce. So, what are the things that make it special in the world of CRM today?
So I think we need to separate, like always, Agentforce as an umbrella term for a lot of the technologies and a lot of the products and offerings we have today in this agentic. It has an idea of what an agent force is, and I think if one thinks of Salesforce traditionally as the software for the workforce, right? So we have Sales Cloud for the sales workforce, and we have Service Cloud for the service workforce, etc. Then Agentforce is first this idea that we are entering this world of a hybrid workforce, where we have both humans and digital agents operating side by side. And so the question then becomes, what is the software for the hybrid workforce? And that's what Agentforce is. I often say Agentforce is really two things. The first thing is those digital agents, creating them, empowering them with the various skills and the various ability to do actions in the various industries. So we have Agentforce for sales and Agentforce for service, etc. And we have the underlying platform to do the building of it. So we have Agentforce Builder, and we have a testing environment where you can test those, and we have Data Cloud to start bringing in the data and the knowledge and ragging and so on, so on, so on. The other side, the other aspect of Agentforce is the software for the hybrid workforce. So we're increasingly thinking, if you think about a contact center, what does it mean to operate a contact center now that has both human and digital agents serving customers? And from a software perspective, there are certain ways that you need to start adjusting your software, right? So for example, even workforce management, which is a very one of the key pillars of a contact center, it's a fundamentally different problem when you think about human limited resources. Then it's all about managing the queue and skills versus a digital agent workforce, which is quote unquote unlimited. But what you need to do is you need to kind of predict the infrastructure ahead of time. So it becomes more problems akin to network traffics, etc. So how do you evolve your workforce management to get there, and so on, so on. So I think in many places we see this bridge built from both ends. One from standing up the digital agents and all the infrastructure required around that, and then matching up with the user experience and the software that kind of helps us manage a hybrid workforce. So it's a very interesting evolution right now.
Would you say you focus more on the infrastructure side or on the service agent side, and creating the agents that face the customers, your customers, and end customers alike?
Yeah, I think infrastructure is a loaded term. I know that this conference has people ranging in all sorts of disciplines. I want to make it very clear that when Salesforce says infrastructure, we see that a very particular part of the stack. Stepping outside of Salesforce, I think Salesforce occupies predominantly the application side. So when we say infrastructure internally, it's a lot of the time for most of our customers, it's not the infrastructure so much as the application layer, right, to run the softwares. So that's, I think, just to put it in the perspective. For us, I would say, I think it's an and, not an or. I think right now there's so much progress that is being made in all directions that we have to advance the front everywhere. I actually think that examples like DeepSeek, etc., keep demonstrating that we haven't quite arrived at the efficient frontier, neither in terms of data centers, nor in terms of models, nor in terms of algorithms, nor in terms of everything else. So we are advancing everything. We, of course, benefit from the advancements out there. So, when new frontier models come up, we adopt them and put them into our ecosystem so that our customers and we can take benefit of all the advances there. When new technologies appear, like communication between agents, so the A2A, or an MCP for agents to systems, we evolve them quickly and adopt them and grow. So we do these kind of advancements. We have cases where we have to host our own more small language model fine-tuned. So these are efforts that are ongoing as well. But of course, a lot of the efforts are along the application. So how do you create a user experience both in design time? How do you instruct, a digital agent? How do you empower it with all the skills and so we have these notions of topics and instructions and actions that you have to create. How do you test it? How do you give folks confident that it's going to do what it says on the box when it's out there? And then once it's in runtime, how do you keep monitoring it? How do you create transparency, trust, all of the rest of it? I think we're spending a lot of time over in the application side.
I think at Atera, we went through a journey which is kind of a bit similar, but from the other side. So we started off from the application. So we wanted to provide, very good autonomous IT application for our end users. But as we started developing this, we recognized the need to develop all the infrastructure that's associated with it. And while it's not kind of the same platform as it is in Salesforce that allows you to develop your own agents, for example, it did evolve to a platform where we do have MCP integrations. We do have suggestions on how to extend the platform to more services. And of course, we created we call it the brain that employed Agentic AI, an agent for each one of the areas. Even before it was fashionable. So we kind of recognized the need and we created those agents. That's the path that we took. So it's kind of interesting to see, how Salesforce got to it from platform to applications, and we got from applications not to platform, but more of an infrastructure area. Let's talk about trust a little bit. I think this is one of the issues that bother most of the people that I talk to, on how can we trust the AI not to disclose details that the user is not supposed to see, or how do we make it secure from reaching in? Now, how do you approach the trust and security issue in Salesforce?
In my mind, trust has two aspects to it, right? There's the perception of trust, which ultimately is around how do we get adoption and how do we go past the reservations the customer have. And of course, those reservations are there for very good reasons. We deal with industries that are specifically susceptible to issues, and concerns around trust. So whether it's finance or government, it's, and so on, so on, so on. So we do need to, it's not just a perception, we have to treat it as a first-class kind of problem. And the second side is the mechanics of trust, right? Like how do we genuinely kind of solve the problem of making the system increasingly more trustworthy? Because there are some inherent, we know there are some inherent vulnerabilities in this generative and large language model vis-a-vis hallucination and so on that needs to be addressed kind of head on. So I think let's start maybe on the mechanics, and then we can talk about the perception. I think on the mechanics side, first, I think there's natural evolutions of the industry, right? So the technology, it is the case that more advanced models tend to hallucinate, yet less. So there is, we can see it's coming. We also part of the way we've designed our agent building mechanism was to explicitly deal with guardrails and in and out of domain kind of scenarios to minimize as much as possible chances for hallucination. So we have topics that kind of create very clear boundaries between domain and out of domain kind of situations. We have a lot of grounding. So, Salesforce is probably the key added value that we see on top of a lot of the advancements in the industry is that when we bring what Salesforce is really good at, which is, understanding the enterprise data, whether it's the CRM or whether it's knowledge or whether it's the interactions customers having with their customers and their employees. And we start grounding on that, a lot of that hallucination problems are going away, right? And we can be very explicit. So that's one side we're doing a lot of work around. The second one is transparency. Like everywhere, I think that the more we give our customers the tools to be able to ensure that things operate correctly, the better it is. So Salesforce is always has this notion of an open platform. So if you go to our Agentforce, our agent builder and our testing environment, so our customers are able to run exhaustive tests, right, against those agents before they go live in our sandbox and so on and so on. So you can ensure that, you have all the guardrails you need around that. And then at runtime, of course, you want to be able to understand and be on top of all the different utterances and responses and actions that the agents are taking. And we have the relevant application side of it. So for example, if it's in the Service Cloud context, we have this persona called the supervisor, and we have what's called only supervisor, which is the dashboard for the supervisor to review everything. And so we included there the agent, the digital agent kind of view of the world. So you can track, you can, of course, on a call by call basis, you can, a supervisor can interrupt, can change and so on. So this is all on the mechanical side. On the trust of the customer, I think similarly, transparency is a big part. We find that when we are able to show value, a lot of these things kind of become muted. But a lot of the times what I find customer really want is the ability to combine generative with imperative, let's say with deterministic kind of machinery. So Salesforce, for many years have built all the deterministic automation tools from Flow to business rule engines to Apex API. So there's a lot of ways to create deterministic flows and actions out there. And so the ability to combine generative with deterministic and with very explicit rules is a big part of how I think we're addressing the trust aspect from our customers. So they can still feel like they, have control of the steering wheel when needed, especially for the more regulated industries. So that's our kind of approach right now. I will say is that, I think this is going to evolve very quickly. I think that once agentic now is taking real roots in the industry, we see a lot of technology evolving fast to close the gap on trust. Another area that we are super active in is that, like any new technology, that there's a new surface now for all the bad players in the field. So I think cybersecurity, and I know you have a lot of guests maybe from that space as well, is evolving very fast, and we, just like any other industry, are investing heavily there to understand, adopt all the new procedures and all the new standards on how cybersecurity now operates in this new world. So that's another area that very active, both development but also adoption of best practices out there.
I think for me, the issue of security and AI kind of came to life when there was, I think it was the OpenAI, I'm not sure, that created this challenge of seven levels of being able to hack OpenAI and ask them to disclose a certain password. So you'd have to dupe the the ChatGPT in order to give you the actual password. So I gave it to my children, and they kind of up until level 6, I think that it was very easy. Within an hour, they got there. Layer 7 was a bit more complicated, but they got it as well. And it kind of for me, and they did it in all sorts of very sophisticated ways. It was really enlightening to see that. But it was kind of, when we thought about it, we thought that at the end of the day, the main thing is, to prevent the AI from having access to a specific operation or to specific data in order to prevent that. And that's kind of the way we went. We went with an AI copilot or autopilot will only have access to this customer's database. It will only use APIs that the user that is activating it has permissions to run. The actions that will run are only actions that are allowed to this user and that they are allowed for this customer. And this kind of confined the problem a little bit, but definitely we'll need to look at it in the future as well. Naturally, around data privacy, we're working on top of Azure OpenAI interface, so lots of guardrails there
Yeah.
as well. So that's kind of where we're taking this.
Yeah,
Um,
if I can add just so I mean, because you touched on an important point, and at least that's I tell my teams, right? Like humans, that we usually err on one side or the other. We almost never in the middle. So there's a new technology, right? So we either fear it completely or we adopt it completely. And the truth is that here, the example you gave with, under what set of permissions and roles does the LLM operate? We actually, there's a very good playbook for identity and permissioning and authorization. And what I've seen, kind of looking at it a little bit from the side, is that it took a moment for the application of all that we do with human users for it to apply actually to LLMs as well. But once the penny dropped that, like actually, no. This is not an oracle here that has access to everything. This is this needs to be very understood in the context of a human user as well, with
Same as
guardrails.
human.
That's right.
Same as
Right.
human.
And we have those distinctions, right? Like we have naturally at Salesforce, for example, we'll have the primary users, so the users of our software, right? They could have an admin role, or they can have a salesperson or a service rep or whatever roles, right? But then we also have them operating on behalf. So if they're a service rep, service representative, right, and they're on a call with an end user, with the customer's users, they need to take on their permissions to be able to access their bank account, and so on, so on, so on. So there are some intricate dances that need to be done there to be able to really do this permissioning dance between them. But they're not completely new patterns. They're existing patterns that we had with human users before. We just need to apply them to the LLM. So that's a good example where I actually think that existing practices have evolved for many years to kind of tackle that, and we should just be able to apply them out of the box. But yeah, that's an interesting point.
Exactly. And we also, many times we refer to the agent as a human as well. It's kind of it's so courteous and polite that maybe it's even inhuman.
Well,
The amount.
this is also, there's two schools of thought there. One that tries to anthropomorphize the agent kind of, and endow them with all the human characteristics, and the other one that thinks of them as very, no, they're just technology. I think there's a great book called The Book of Why by Judea Pearl. He's a renowned computer scientist, but there's a lot of talk about reasoning, and I think that using its kind of levels of reasoning, it's true to say that LLMs even today, they're very on the rudimentary kind of level compared to humans. So I think from that perspective, we're still good. But I do think that thinking of them in terms of the technology stack, if you really want to break the patterns, they're most akin to users, to your point. They interact with systems. If users have user interface, agents have agent interface, right? So MCP is a great example. They interact with other agents. That's a new interface. So A2A is a great example. And they interact with humans, which we're still trying to figure out the best way to do that. Chat was the first example, and there's audio, there's everything else. So I think thinking of them as humans, at least in the context of the technology stack, is probably gives you the most breadth of what needs to be built.
Let's talk about data a little bit. So, up until not long ago, it was thought that, whoever controls the data, can actually create the best AI out there. And it is true today as well. But, today we have LLMs that are training practically on the whole internet. What do you think is the role that data still plays, or, if specific companies have specific data, will that give them still an advantage on top of, the run of them or the run of the mill LLMs?
So I'll put on my Berkeley lecturer hat for a moment, and I'll just say this: I often say, when in data science, there's only two things as data scientists we have to do, right? We have to fit the models to the existing data, and then we got to make sure that they generalize. In the old days of data science, the hardest task was generalization. That was that's what the whole industry evolved around: hyperparameter tuning, and so on and so on. And the only real solution to that was data. In the new world of those very large models, generalization is almost the default. I say sometimes to folks, like if you're very athletic, then you can pick up soccer very quickly and basketball and everything else. But if you really want to be very good at one of them, you almost have to forget the others. And in this world of generative AI, those large models, a lot of what we do is about helping them forget things so they can really specialize, right? So grounding and RAG and everything, those are techniques that help them forget. So it's still about data. It's a different kind of use case, but it's still very, very important. I think irrespective of how models evolve, the old saying that we had, of garbage in, garbage out, it's still gonna apply. So I think that data is key. It will change. It's not so much about quantity like we had in the old. It's really about the signal in the data that is really, really important. So we find that, yes, you can train on the entire internet, of course, when it comes to language, but when you need to understand the policies of a particular business or a particular industry, you need very well curated knowledge. Now, of course, GenAI can help with that as well, but you do need that signal to be there. And so I think that's the key. We need the CRM and the knowledge and for us the conversations as data sets to be able to really get the full blown. So I think that is definitely so. The technology associated with data is still very important as well. So you do need the data lakes and the CDPs and everything we've built. It will become even more important. In fact, I think companies that have invested in creating those strong data foundations from a technology perspective are going to benefit now with this Gen AI, because it's not the case that out of the box these models come with all the things they know. On the contrary, if you curated and created a clean data environment for your business, you can put that data to work very quickly. I mean, we of course have Data Cloud, which is the interface between all your data lakes, Snowflake, Databricks, etc., into these Gen AI applications. And you need something like that is able now to create, the single pane of glass that can chunk and vector DB and everything else, so you could do your semantic queries and get that value at rack time.
What you said about making them forget, really, really resonated. In our path, when we, try to create, the best optimized solutions, when a user has a ticket that, that he created and needs a response, what we've seen is that, that general LLMs will provide, the right response when this is an issue that reoccurs many times across the world. So there's a lot of data around this and a lot of data on how to solve it. That will work pretty well. But when you try to go in, and then when we implemented it with our design partners, what we've seen is that there's a lot of information that is specific to that specific customer. So they have, I don't know, a certain way in which they install their VPN, or a certain script that they have that solves specific issues that they have, or even ad hoc systems that are not widely available. For example, some of our customers have systems or software that they built and they serve only them. So there's not a lot of info about this in the wide web. And even if there is, LLMs will find it hard to extract it because it's very sparse. So what we've done is we created this reasoning model that kind of navigates between the different agents, and each agent will have a specific role where this is the center. The specific knowledge base or this specific script that will be the center of what they need to do, and this way it will work the best. So I still think there's a lot of a lot of room for specialty in the data. The more customers are using this, the more special integration you have for them or specific instructions they have, the more we'll have a line of agents that will solve virtually all of the problems, and they will do that well on the
Yeah.
spot.
And we see that, I mean, we've had implementations by now in multiple places of the agentic, whether it's what we call Agentforce service agents, or the frontline self-service kind of agents, or whether it's the assistive kind of mode working with the service reps in the agent console. In both ways, companies that have spent effort in curating their knowledge traditionally have found they can move very fast. And for those that didn't, they discovered deploying this that they have gaps in the documentation mostly. So I think, if anything, documentation is just going to become more important.
So where are you seeing agentic AI going next? There's been a lot of development in recent year and a half. Where is it going next?
Yeah, I think, well, first, I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm not going to pretend to know how fast it's going to evolve into which direction. But if I had to guess, from a value at least, where is there a real value in ultimately automation? Like what can we further automate to release more value in the enterprise, right? In the workforce. I think understanding and being able to automate quote unquote decision making is the next frontier, right? That will push reasoning to the next level, right? So we have traditionally, I think, automation, very quickly stop when the reasoning around how to make decisions got a little bit more complex. Because, I mean, if you think about deterministic automation as basically if-then kind of loops, of course, if you think about, I don't know, booking a room at a hotel, being able to actually book the room is pretty easy. We have a lot of system with API calls. You just update a row in the database to say check-in, being Friday instead of a Saturday. But if you think about the entire world of policies around changing a booking, you can only do it 24 in advance, hours, but not 48. But if you're a gold member, maybe it's different. And if those around the holidays, it's different again. And if it's this look, so that complexity was very hard because it made those if-then systems very brittle. I still think that frontier of how to automate, issuing a passport or a driver license or booking a hotel or a flight, like with all the real complexity that involved, is the very immediate next frontier that we're going to tackle. And we're going to see more and more, whether it's OpenAI Operator or all of these ideas out there of being able to automate seemingly simple tasks that were complicated because they had a lot of nuance in them that was very hard to deterministically kind of program. So I think that's a big bucket of next frontier kind of evolutions that we're going to see. I think the other one is around how do we leverage the same technology to change how we do software development. Internally, I could tell you that that's an area that we're spending a lot of time on as well. Anything from productivity to quality to creativity as well. There's a lot of aspects I think that technology can help. So I see a lot of evolution in how we produce software that's going to be very interesting, and that's coming pretty fast, I think, as we stand right now. And the third one, of course, is just the natural evolution of everything we do better. Data centers are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and models are getting bigger as well, but better as well. So I think that evolution is there. I don't know beyond that how's it going to work, but I am very bullish on the idea of a hybrid model of humans and AI kind of working together. I think if we can take an example from, I don't know, chess and other areas where we've, ultimately the best combination is human plus AI, right? So I think we'll see similar kind of tasks here. I will say the last thing is that as humans, we're very limited in how far we can see, right? There's this idea of skeuomorphism. Skeuomorphic is this idea that we can only evolve within the same kind of, so I know the first light bulb was in the shape of a candle, and the first car looked like a horse and buggy, right? Like, so we did not, when we invent electricity, we did not see transistors and computers and a whole lot of other stuff. Similarly here, I'm still, you mentioned your kids. I'm waiting for my kids to tell me what the next thing here is, because I think I'm too entrenched in how the world was, and I don't think I'm thinking big enough here. But that's me.
Yeah, very interesting. And I think for me, I would say a couple of things. First of all, there's a research that I've seen not long ago. Maybe you have seen it as well. A group of researchers try to determine how fast is the AI progressing, and they kind of try to see if there's a Moore's law that apply to AI as well. And their methodology was around, you take tasks that a human can do in 5 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 8 hours, etc. And how long does it take? Not how long. How successfully does an AI model can complete 50% of the task? So what they saw is that the longer the task for humans, the lower the rates of success for AI as well. So what they've seen is that there's a like constant progression and in the amount or the length of tasks that AI models can do, 50% of the work. So what they found out is that around every 7 months, this doubles. So if a model today can do 50% of a job of 4 hours, then in 7 months it will be able to do 50% of an 8 hour human job, which is which is amazing. And this is it's not just exponential. It's each 7 months. The original Moore's law was 18 months, and it created an amazing revolution. So as you said earlier, it's kind of it's very, very hard to imagine what such an exponential growth will do. It's amazing. But if I'll take a couple of guesses, I would say that, as always, communication is something that's a multiplier. So agents that talk between themselves and humans, as you mentioned, this will probably create some kind of exponential growth in performance and in things that AI can do. And of course, the quality of AI and how it delivers the responses and how it can answer specific issues grows all the time. And this will create really very, very good agents. So we will rely on them, and we will start using them a lot more often than we do today.
Yeah, I agree. I want to add one. I mean, I'm an optimist, maybe too much to it, but I think that a lot of those studies assume humans are at steady state. The baseline. And one thing, I mean, this is a bit of controversial kind of statement, but I think humans, we've been the dominant species here for a while. I think a little bit of competition will help us. I actually am looking forward to seeing how.
Not too much competition.
yeah, this is going to help us push the envelope on certain things, like, I don't know, 12 years of education. We've been doing that for a while. Can we make kids 10x, come out of 12, 10x more knowledgeable, right? So, or something like that. How do we disrupt ourselves a little bit and learning? Because ultimately, what I think, and I've been doing, this was my entire career, so I've been in this space for many years. I think one thing that is clear is that the understanding learning and being able to both replicate that in machines, but also reflect for us, is the underpinning of all of this. And I am looking forward to seeing how we also as human become, better at learning, machine learning, right? And human learning co-evolves with this. So I am very bullish on actually, with a lot of those studies also coming back in, 5 years, 10 years, of seeing how the baseline actually increased both ways.
Yaakov, it's been extremely interesting, but unfortunately, we need to wrap up. So thanks so much for joining us here, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tal. Thank you for everybody, and enjoy the conference. Sounds like looking forward to hearing all the other talks as well.